Hey, everybody. Welcome to Exit Stage Left. I am your host, Neethi Bali, and we are broadcasting live from the Food Church here on North Carolina. We're a people at peace, and we have declared peace to all nations around the world. This is not a marketing or a promotional channel. We are shining a light on knowledge that is being hidden from you, and we are sharing the truth about your birthright and your inheritance. Today, I am joined by by Tammy Healy, the host of the American States Assembly's podcast and co-leader of the Outreach Think Tank. Tammy, welcome.
Hey, Neethi. It's so great to be here with you today. And I know we've got like a bazillion things going on, on our states, and we're so busy that sometimes when we talk, we just want to get it out. And I find myself tripping up sometimes too. And look, I'm from the north. And we talk really fast here, so it's very easy to get ahead of myself.
So absolutely. I know. I was just like, I'm so excited. Like, oh yay, we're gonna have so much fun today. And this is our I don't know. Tammy and I wanted to share with you guys something for the Valentine's Day that's coming up. Was the inspiration for this, okay? And and what we're observing on our assemblies is, I think, it's being referenced like, a lack of ability to communicate due to the corporate brainwashing and mind control, and a lot of the arrested development that a lot of folks are suffering. But it isn't always about that, is it?
No. And I think, like you said, in spite of, or in the essence of Valentine's Day, this particular video that I came across was, speaking about, relationships with, that deal with coupleship, right? But in listening to the interview, I thought, wow, like these are some really great tips that I think our assemblies could really, get some, help and assistance with. It really pertains to pretty much all relationships. And so, that's what we're going to be reviewing today. And the interview came from Danica. I'm trying to remember her last name, but she was a race car driver, and she actually has her own podcast on YouTube, and she always has really great interviews. And and I can't remember the name of the gentleman that she's interviewing, but he's excellent in his work.
Yes.
And so, we're going to kind of start it about 31 minutes in, and then we'll pause it to discuss what they were talking about.
Right. How far did you want me to go on this first one?
Well, I think after the first topic, they're going to talk about something, and I'll say, you could pause it there.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'll cue you.
All right, here we go.
Right. And that's what most people are doing. Instead, where are you going 50 years from now? And how do you plan to get there? And can we get each other there?
Yeah.
And then you deploy that and say, when you ask me, how should we argue? How should we argue in a way that we protect our long-term 50-year investment we're making? Mm-hmm. This is why the world of business has done this. How do we argue in a way that doesn't destroy?
Yes, that was a good part of it.
Yeah. And so I want to kind of hone in on that, because previously they were talking about how couples, in planning their life together, instead of, when you meet, somebody in dating or whatever, and, things are getting serious and you're thinking about marriage, usually people are seeing if they, if they'll work together based on their commonalities, right? But this guy is talking about having a 50-year plan, right? Like, where do you see yourself in 50 years? And that's kind of like the mindset that our assemblies need to gather is, let's see, what is the end goal? We know that we want all four pillars fully functioning. We know that we want to get back the transfer of authority, right? So take, from the de facto to the lawful government. We know we want that to take place. We also know we want our courts standing so that our land can have see justice again.
Right.
And
live, right.
Yeah, and live with with integrity and with real laws, not codes, statutes, and regulations, right?
Right.
And so, you know, when you look at this from that standpoint, looking at your long-term goals, then you can then start to work back from that and say, okay, what are the steps that we need to take? And how are we going to get there together?
This is traditional courtship. This is how we were raised, you know? So in our culture, we court, we don't date. A lot of people don't know the difference between courtship and dating. So for anybody who doesn't know, when you're courting, then there is a deliberate intention about, you know, like we are going to hang out and get to know each other with the intention of learning, you know, do we believe that we're compatible for marriage, you know, or for something long term. So when you're courting, then you are having hard conversations, or what people call today hard conversations. They didn't tell us that when I was coming up. When I was coming up, they were just saying, like, you know, we know that it is our custom and our tradition that, you know, marriage is not a game. We are not, you know, just starting marriages and ending them. We are going to be in it for the long haul. It is for us to have, you know, babies and to raise a family and to actually have you're establishing your legacy with this man or woman. And he's referring to that. He's explaining that you should be dating that way. But I mean, that's what courtship was.
Yeah. And the one thing that I really love in the way that he explains it is that when a man is courting a woman, they're in it with the intention that I'm selling myself to her, right? Why she's thinking, why would I want to spend the rest of my life with this man? And he's there to prove to her that he's worthy enough of her, right? And that's how the courtship it really happens. And so if we take it from a standpoint of the relationships that we are building in our assemblies, right, is that we are all worthy to be there, but we're there to provide a role, right? We're there to provide a service. We're there to work in harmony with each other, not in opposition, not in competition. Right. You know, this isn't about competing about who knows more information, you know, who is, you know, more popular than somebody else. You know, we are here to work together. It's not even about those things. It's about coming together and building, like what you said, is the legacy. We're building a legacy of a government, right? That's what we are building here in our assemblies. So if you want to continue to play, I think, because he's going to get into some more of that.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to get ahead of him, but I'm thinking about, you know, the roles. So I think he's going to get into that here in a minute.
Yeah. And we'll pause it and we could get more into that too.
Yeah, because I have a lot on my mind about that, especially, and hopefully this is going to help everyone remember a time, because I think most of us have lived long enough to remember a time when this legacy mindset was prevalent everywhere on America and everywhere on Earth. And currently, I think that we see more of it in a lot of other places on Earth because of the American experiment. Right. But traditional Americans, and I know, especially within our farming community, they're still upholding that it's an ancient mindset. So,
right. And I think it goes back to even like villages, right? It's like smaller communities and villages, you know, like they used to say it takes a village to raise kids, right? And that's really the truth of how they did things back then.
Everywhere on Earth. This is what is, I think it's important for us right now to point at the fact that this is about everywhere on Earth, not just America. So,
exactly.
Okay, we're going to go back now. Ready?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, here we go.
Our company. so that we can stay intact and continue to work together professionally. We don't even have to be best friends, but how do we argue in a way that's conducive and productive to long-term vision?
Right.
Well,
Should we stop there?
Yeah, because that's the other thing, that we have been indoctrinated to believe that arguing is actually a bad thing. And people scare away and hide from arguing. But I think we just haven't been taught, or it hasn't been modeled to us, what a true healthy argument looks like. Because basically, you're coming, you are stating your case, the other person stating their case, and you kind of go back and forth in this conversation that's respectful, and you're providing evidence, right?
But
And you're
professional, you talked about this, Tammy.
Yeah.
You said we need more professionalism on the assembly. They're
And
very professional. They're running it like a business. Like we're not trying to like
Right.
scorch the earth and burn our entire assembly down.
Exactly. And people also have to get out of the mindset of just taking things too personal. And if they do take things personal, they get to then approach, like if you hurt my feelings, Neeti, I would say, hey, and because I know you're not intentionally trying to hurt my feelings, like I already know that, I'm going to say, hey, what did you really mean by that? I think I might have misunderstood, because for whatever reason, I got offended by it. So can you explain that a little bit better to me?
Right.
And that is how, and I think you would respond differently if I said, hey, why do you have to be such a bee? Because, that was offensive, right? Like if I came at it like that, you're going to have a different response than the first version.
Right.
And
or I could even say, hey, Tammy, what you just said, I'm sorry, that really kind of just hurt my feelings just now, because I heard this. And is that what you meant? Or what do you mean? Because I don't know what everybody's experience is, but I remember working for a publishing house, and we would have what we call blue line days. So we would go through the entire publication, and we were we were actually redlining the whole book, editing, proofing it. And as we're going through that, then we would, maybe discuss it with each other. Hey, I am editing maybe an ad or something, and I need to change it. How can we get it to be a little bit more powerful, or what can we do, blah, blah, blah. We could have a little discussion about it. And sometimes somebody would get it in their head that, oh my God, I can't believe you won't do this, because, they think it's such a great idea. And we would go back and forth. But so it could become a very energized conversation.
Yeah.
But we were all,
respectful for one another.
Yeah, we were respectful. We all knew that all of us were very successful in the various ad campaigns and things that we created. And so, it wasn't a uncommon thing for us to say, hey, what did you mean by that? Because that didn't sound very nice to me.
Right. And I think here's the other thing, right, is that we're not used to, there's a lot of Americans, because the family unit had been broken up because both parents had to go to work, right? And so there really was less and less family time allowed, and therefore less and less modeling of what it looks like to be around the dinner table, having discussions with your family, and having conversations that actually matter. And I don't know about you, Neeti, but I know in my family and in my husband's family nowadays, I can get into in-depth conversation with my dad about things that actually matter. But with other people in our family, it's a very hard topic. People get very offended if you don't follow along with the mainstream narrative and you present a different information. And that is part of the whole indoctrination, because we're no longer respecting one another back and forth and saying and giving our loved ones the benefit of the doubt that, hey, they have a difference of opinion, and I'm interested in what they have to say. And so I may not agree with it, but I'm going to hear them out and I'm going to let them say what they want to say. And then I'm going to say what I want to say. And we're going to go back and forth like this. Hopefully the goal is to come to a meeting of the minds. And especially if you are dealing with a problem that needs a solution and you're trying to come up with a solution and you're going back and forth in these debate-like manners. And I think that that's part of the problem is that for generations, we've lost what that family gathering looks like, where people talk and they actually talk about things that matter. Like
real talk. So this real
talk
talk that you're talking about hasn't been present in a lot of people's homes in a very long time. And that's the unfortunate thing. And we have this gentleman saying, yeah, it's called debate. The problem with that is that a lot of folks believe debate is another word for fight, an argument, or whatever. Right. And they don't remember that. They don't really know that debate is a structured, formal contest of argumentation between opposing sides. It's regarding specific topic. It is aiming to persuade, someone. It's logical. It's evidenced. It's an organized argument. It's a critical thinking thing. It's not a,
and you have to provide evidence to back up your opinion.
Right.
In a debate, in a real debate. And debate is also, because I know my son, I taught his debate class when he was in 8th grade. And what I tried to veer away from, which is part of the homeschool co-op, entered debates for competition.
Right.
But here's the thing, right? Debate isn't supposed to be a competition. Debate, and I guess if you're looking at it in a competition standpoint, you're trying to see who is better at being able to persuade somebody. Right.
I mean, the assertions must be supported by evidence or reasoning. And if they're not, then it's just not really constructive.
Right. And the goal should always be, there is a problem. There's two sides of how we think we're going to handle this problem. We need to debate it out, right? Everybody provides their evidence, their input, and back it up with reasoning and logic and evidence. And then we come to a conclusion and a decision.
And it's even better when there's more than 2 points of view.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So that's the other part of this. Like, a lot of times what we're finding is someone who's trying to do this on our assembly, they are doing it the very corporate way, which is limited to just 2. If it's an actual living man's way, if it's the way the people do it, it might not be just 2 ways. They're like, how many ways is there to skin a cat? How many ways? Like, there's a lot of ways. And, if you ask a little 5-year-old boy, I'm sure he and his 5-year-old friends can show you many ways. There's many ways to
Yeah, and I think you make a really great point, because when we're talking about our assemblies, right? I mean, there's a lot of men and women in those assemblies, and we have to get out of the mindset that there's a hierarchical structure where the one at the top gets to make the ultimate decision, right? And that's not the case at all. Trying to break people of that, where there's one person that we go to get the expertise, right? The expertise, where we're all our own experts in our own right, with our own minds, our own opinions. And it requires us to have a level of knowledge and I think that that's another problem, right? What I find is when you debate a topic, and I'm not talking about people within our assembly. Our assembly, thankfully, we've all been working harmoniously together. But I'm talking about recently with family members. If I present them with information that is, in contrast to what they believe, instead of debating and trying to prove me wrong with evidence, they then start name calling. And we see that all over social media, like, oh, you're a communist. Oh, you're. And so it's like, I find it so interesting when people will resort back to that, because that's their fallback. That's the indoctrination. Yes. And that's why you see chaos, like I call it a clown show with these fake presidential debates, because they're not even debating anything worthwhile of a discussion, right? Anything that matters. They're debating, like how they look. Like I remember when Donald Trump called Marco Rubio like little Marco. Okay, little Marco. And everybody thought it was so funny. And I'm sitting here and I'm like,
are you a grown up? Like, what's
I'm like, are you for real?
Right. I like what Deborah's saying here. She's like, debating is healthy and helps us grow up together. This is an important point.
Yeah.
And also, why can't we all grow up together? We all can parent each other and love each other and grow together. Yeah. And why aren't people just open to that? They're so, the problem with the corporate mind is that you can't be wrong. And you also can't not know something. And
you're afraid of looking like a fool.
Right. You just aren't, so people would rather just not say anything than to possibly be wrong or possibly like for failure.
Fear of failure and fear of being ridiculed or looking like they're dumb, all these things that we've been indoctrinated to believe.
Right. I mean, and listen, friends, nobody's going to give you an F. Nobody's being graded here. It's fine.
It's like, we're going to say, hey, that was an A for effort. How about you try again?
Right. Like just, everyone was born worthy beyond belief. And when the times that you feel like you don't really know if this even matters, and then when you actually say it, everybody else is like, finally, someone said it. So like it would be really good. Anyway, shall we go back?
Yes, let's go back, because he gets into some really good stuff.
Okay, here we go.
Well, what you described was a great business relationship. Hey, Mr. CEO, knock, knock, knock. I'm your fellow executive. I've got a concern over here in my department, and I got to tell you, something you're doing is causing me some hardship. I'm not here to yell and scream at you. I just need to tell you, you're accidentally crimping my style over here, and my department needs a little bit more resources. Mm-hmm. Can you take care of us in this way? Because then we're both going to win together. And the CEO shouldn't say, no, I won't give you more. Your department can burn. Okay, let's burn the company to the ground at that point. It's in his best interest or her best interest to say, okay, well, tell me more. Tell me more about what you need. Help me understand what you need. I don't know your department that well. This is why we have to ask each other what you need for love. I don't know your department that well. Mm-hmm. Tell me what you need over here. How do I take care of you?
Pause that for a second.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, and I think that's really what, some of these assemblies, that are struggling with, getting along. We all know Anna's been writing articles and has been discussing this. I think it's because they don't know, number one, how to receive love, and then they don't know how to give it, right? And he's going to get a little bit more into what does it look like to ask for what you need. How many times have people asked for what they need, right? Like, hey, I'm working on, writing this notice, but here's what I'm going to need from everybody else, right? This is something that we've actually done in our assembly is we need somebody to go research this. We need somebody to go research that. And we have these things that are delegated out and everybody has their tasks to do. And then we come back and we have all the information we need in order to devise and write this notice that we need to get out. And that's how we work together harmoniously. And, thinking that people are out to get you, or that, people don't like you, or that, you don't like them, and all this other stuff. I mean, we really, that is so juvenile. We really have to start getting past that point. We have to remove, that veil that's really stumping our assemblies, and it's really unnecessary. And even when that happens, this is what the rest of us are wondering. It's either one or two things. It's either you are a paid infiltrator or you're seriously confused and you need to start investigating and doing your inner work. Because if you're showing up constantly pointing your finger and telling people they're in the wrong, and so is passing jurisdiction, and and all this nonsense, it's the inner work that, I mean, and Deborah Ann says this all the time. It's like you're reflecting what's going on inside. And so when we see people showing up like that, we know that there's an inner battle and that they need to do the inner work.
Right. I mean, listen, you are not doing anything but talking to the man in the mirror all the time. So whatever it is that you say, it's going to go into the mirror, reflect back at you. And if all you're getting is, you might want to wonder why. Like, what's going on?
And we want to approach the conversations. If we have a disagreement, we don't want to come across as accusatory, right? And start accusing people of something. We have to start showing up with love, respect, compassion.
What about when you're observing that? When you're on the assembly and you're observing that all this somebody does is do this, and then in the background, you're only talking to that guy. And you're never talking to anybody else. Well, you might want to think about who it is. Who are you following? Who are you listening to?
Somebody that is a good critical thinker, Neethi. They don't necessarily pick a side. They observe.
Right.
And they listen to both sides of, if there's like some kind of a conflict between, what this person says or what that person says, they have to observe the behaviors of these two individuals, right? These two assembly members. And they have to hear both sides of how everybody is viewing things or what they see is going on. And then it is their job, their duty, their responsibility to speak up and say, hey, I don't really agree with this. And I don't see anything wrong with this. And I think we need to pause with, our objections to this or whatever else, whatever it may be, and
recognizing those patterns in those people. So this is what people don't comprehend is the discernment. Discernment is actually pattern recognition. So when you're observing the folks on your nation and they're always the defendant or they're always the accuser, you might want to pay attention. Or if you're paying attention to, like all of the various positions, like who is pushing the needle and who is standing in front of the needle, not allowing it to be moved, follow the patterns. And a lot of times it takes, a couple of years to really be able to have a good, clear
picture
a picture of those patterns. Oh, this guy shows up every 6 months and only is holding the needle back or obstructing or whatever. That guy shows up every 6 months and he always has a gift when he does show up, because there's those guys, that just come. So anyway, shall we continue?
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
Have these conversations and we say, okay, it's in our mutual best interest to take care of each other. Let's do it. But you also have to be having those conversations. Most people go in, they wait 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
They guess and they find the right place to do it. Most women wait until a man is about to fall asleep at 11 o'clock at night. His head hits the pillow. And then she says, can I talk to you about something? Because that's the only time he's relaxed enough that she thinks she's going to get a good response. And it's the one time that he doesn't want to talk.
Yeah.
Now he's discussing, between a husband and a wife, right?
The timing, right?
Yeah, the timing. But I also think that that's a good point for our assembly members, right? Because, and I think we had these discussions previously about the timing of bringing up a topic, right? And I know in our assembly, we have an agenda and, and so we stick to the topics that are on that agenda. And we leave space at the end of our meeting if anybody has any miscellaneous things that they want to bring up. And we also invite people hey, if there's a topic that you want us to add to the agenda, we
Mhm.
will add it to the agenda if it's worthy of a conversation, and it pertains to our assembly.
Worthy of a conversation. So let's just pause right there for 1 second, if I may say something. So that is the moment where everyone needs to fully comprehend that if it isn't about business,
Yes.
it's not
worthy.
It's not a topic. So if it's about a grievance, if it is about a crime, if it is about something else, that is not going to be the topic.
That's not the place and time to have that discussion.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. All of those conversations, friends, are going to be not on the GA. They're
Right.
not. They're not going to be on the GA. But it's the timing does matter. And this is the moment where when Anna is saying, that, hey, let's just all get along. He said it in the beginning. It's in our best interest for all of us. Because, for this 50-year legacy, which hopefully what we're talking about isn't just 50, but can we make it 50? Because America has never made it 50 years. Do you know America never made it 50 years after the Revolutionary War?
I thought it was 80 years. I thought it was 80 years up to the Civil War.
Let's do the math on that because I'm happy to be wrong.
1776.
You do the math real quick while I finish what I'm saying about this. Because all I wanted to point out to everyone is once the Pope and the King realized that, okay, after the Revolutionary War, it took this much time and they figured out how to do it. And when they did it, the next thing they did, because that was early, like in the 1800s, okay? But Gandhiji discovered the Great Fraud on India. That was the next time that there was a usurpation or a freedom and then a usurpation. So what happened on India in 47, by 1947, they learned a lot from the whole Abraham Lincoln thing, okay? Right. And so by that time, they were already in position while Gandhi was doing what he was doing, his peace movement, blah, 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 blah. And he finally did actually see it come to fruition after how many years of his life he spent in prison. I mean, y'all can all watch the Gandhi historical thing and catch up. But anyway, and then so he freed them supposedly, only to lead them into a bloody partition where Pakistan was established because all the Hindus pushed the Muslims into one box and said, you can only be over there. And that's the only way we can have this peace. Nobody knows about the bloody partition and how Pakistan was established and created. But during all that bloodshed, where millions of people died, okay, that was the corporatocracy's benefit war, because they benefit when people die. This is what they always create. They always create mayhem. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they did that. They accomplished the mayhem. They accomplished all the murder. And and as soon as that partition was over, which all of that nonsense lasted, I'm not sure. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I know, a couple of years or whatever. Then immediately they usurped India again. And Indians have no idea right now that they have been usurped.
Yeah. And that's usually that's the game plan.
Right.
That's why they say, you must, know and study history so you don't repeat it. But we still haven't, all of us have not learned that lesson yet.
Well, we were lied to for so long and about so many things, but Anna is referencing that specifically, and this is why she references it.
And I think that that's a good point to make, getting back to issues within our assemblies, because these are characteristics and behaviors that should be red flags for people. If you have somebody trying to create chaos or discord or constantly bringing up topics that are really irrelevant to the success of your assembly, those are red flags that, these people are either confused, maybe they're just indoctrinated into this, competitive nature of the corporatocracy because they've been living in that realm for so long, or they're paid infiltrators. And in either case, we can't survive as an assembly by, the assembly members can't sit by idly watching those behaviors happen. We all have to have, like Anna tells us, our Shinola sensors on high. We have to identify when things just aren't, when we see a pattern, continuing. These are things to keep our Shinola sensors on. And in our assembly, we've decided that, there's constantly all sorts of crazy things, emails that we get, different things.
Like the spam stuff you get on your phone that you already know you need to block and delete it.
Oh, yeah. I don't even read it. I just block, delete. And because to me,
that's email, everybody
gets a distraction. And I'm not here to,
recognize the corporatocracy. Yeah, we can't recognize all of these solicitations and entertain them. We don't have any obligation to do that at all. And we're volunteers. So if there is a situation where you're being constantly harassed by anybody who you feel like you have to answer to because they're on the assembly, and if they're doing that to you, that you're allowing them to do it. But why are you allowing that? And you shouldn't,
Right.
In the same way that he's saying that, we need to keep the time, we need to discuss the timing. We need to have an agreed upon time. And so if someone is on your personal time, texting, emailing, calling, harassing, that's the same. What's the difference between that and you trying to talk to your husband at 11 o'clock while his head just hit the pillow?
Right. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Shall we go back?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
But now he's angry already at the beginning. And then they argue about it because she gives a 20-minute monologue about all the things that have gone wrong and tries to convince him to care about something that she thinks has nothing to do with him. And all he hears is a laundry list of things he's done wrong. And then he's been attributed malicious intent, reckless disregard. You just don't love me the way I love you. It's this laundry list that he sits for 20 minutes listening to until he explodes.
This happens on assemblies where people feel that they are being challenged, accused, whatever, and then they're like off. Then they can't even remember the legacy plan. And then they've been distracted and have forgotten, hey, wait a minute, we were working on this plan and everything was going along great until somebody started this nonsense. Wait a minute. And how did we allow that to snowball into this thing that's been going on for the last 8 weeks or 9 weeks or whatever? And wait a second, we were doing just fine. And everybody all of a sudden is, they're able to be like absorbed,
distracted. Yeah,
I mean, it's literally like a shiny bright light, like you watch your kitten do with the ball of yarn or something.
Yeah, or like your dog that sees a squirrel outside, and it's like squirrel,
right.
eating their food, and they're all into eating their food, and then the minute they hear a squirrel, it's like it
derails an entire assembly, and that derailment is a side effect of our corporate brainwashing mind control that allows us to fall into that trap. And a lot of assemblies are victims of that. And the people that are causing it, like we discussed already, is there an intention? Is this something they planned?
Yeah,
is it not? And if it isn't a plan, then why? Why was this started? And how is it diving deeper into more divisiveness and distraction from the actual path that you were following that was so good?
Yeah, and I think if everybody could ask themselves a few questions before bringing a topic up that is a concern to them, right? Mm-hmm. Is this going to help my assembly? Is it going to help my assembly grow? Is it going to help my assembly become more knowledgeable? How is this going to help my assembly? Like these are and am I going to present this information in a loving way where it's going to be received in the way I want it to be received?
Mhm.
What is the outcome? What is the outcome that I want from this discussion? Those
Right.
are the things you need to ask yourself before you start a new topic of discussion that you may think is important.
Right. And solutions. Like, you need to step up with 3 solutions, not a complaint or,
Right.
a criticism or condemnation. You can't do any of that. Like, you can point out, hey guys, I feel like this thing is kind of slow. And in my experience, there's these things. And the reason that it's probably better to do it this way is 1, 2, 3. And if you can't do 1, 2, 3 solutionary reasons why, probably go back into the drawing board and just wait until you have 3.
Well, you make an interesting point, Neepi, because I think that in our society, we've only been used to complaining. Now, think
Mhm.
about how the US government is structured, right?
Mhm.
If you are a man or woman, living your everyday life, but all of a sudden you get word that the de facto government is trying to pass, they call it a law, but we know it's just a statute or a code. And
Mhm.
they're passing this, and all of a sudden everybody's up in arms. And
A bill.
yeah, what do they do? Right? What
Right.
do they do? They go to
React.
the state capitol
Mhm.
and they protest. They
Right.
start emailing their senators who really don't give a shit about them,
Or petition. And
Yeah.
like all of these things, you guys, is just complaining, condemning,
Yeah.
and
and waiting for somebody else in an authoritative position to fix the problem for you. And that was the point, is that if you're going to complain about something that you're unhappy with, you should have 3 solutions to offer up.
right.
Here's 3 things of how I think we can fix this.
Right.
And
And
offer it up.
so, how about this would require you to know the 50-year legacy plan, to know the path, to know what you want and why you want it. And so, why are you getting mad every time we say, what do you want and why do you want it? What do you want and why do you want it? And so, at the beginning, most assemblies are working on a mission statement and handbooks for all the things. But anybody who actually has been in business knows you can't write the handbook before you do the work. You got to
Right.
do
And
the work.
sometimes you don't know what needs to be in the handbook until you get started and you're immersed in the actual work, and you're like, oh, that's how our government was structured, by the way.
Right.
That's
right.
why it incrementally went from a union state, right, with the
Mhm.
Declaration of Independence. All the counties came together and formed that union state, and then a few months later, in September, we
Mhm.
formed the Federation of States. And
Right.
then a few years later, in what was it, 1781, we had the Confederation of States. And then even a few years down the line, we had the federal government that started off with the Federal Republic that had the first constitution. And then a few years later, we had
Which stood under our
Yes,
Constitution.
but-
It was
but
under, no, I'm pointing this one out for anybody watching us on YouTube, that the Federal Republic is not American. It is a foreign subcontractor. It is Caesar's Republic. It was the municipal government, and we're not trying to get back to any republic. That republic is a municipal subcontractor. It was Caesar's Republic. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm not quite sure that that's correct, because we held the Constitution of 1787 was the first constitution, and that was for the land jurisdiction, and it was American.
No, the first one was American. Then
Yeah.
it was the British one for the Navy.
Yep.
And
And
then
then
it
we
was
had the
the Trappist
municipal.
municipal one.
Right.
But is that in order of, what you just
That was the order in which the constitutions were given out. It was 1787, then 1789, and then 1790 was the municipal constitution.
right.
And so, and my
But a
point in
republic,
bringing,
but the word republic is
it was a
is-
federal republic, because that was what it was called.
uh-huh.
And it was under the Constitution for the United States of America.
Right. All I'm saying is that I could have all that part wrong. I'm happy to be wrong about it. But a republic is still Caesar's republic. And we're owed a Republican form of government. And we're not trying to reconstruct a republic.
Right. I mean, I think that
I'm just saying it because it's a lot of people are confused about that. And I'm happy to be educated better.
Yeah. Well, we called it the Federal Republic.
Right.
But again, just like you know, our the United States.
But federal also is not our federation. It's the water
reflection.
Right. The federal is a water reflection of our federation, and we're nothing federal. Our American government is federation, but the federal part, I mean, Anna has just literally been pointing this out. And even,
but the word federal and the word constitution both just mean contract.
Right.
So underneath contracted government.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the entire federal government is a contracted government that's there to provide us with governmental services. It's not there to be the government.
Right.
We are the government.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point in saying that, really to get into that, is that things happen incrementally.
Yes.
Right. So like when we were talking about building handbooks, right?
Yeah.
You can't have a handbook. You can't start with a blueprint if you're not already working in it because you really don't know what you need.
Right.
Right. It was the same way when you're building
it. You can start it and have it like on the computer and then you can just know, okay, every few weeks or months or something, we're going to come back and we're going to be manipulating it and adding and changing and shifting and whatever.
Changing things. And it because it's a working document that is there as a tool to help us function.
Right.
You know, it's not like the Holy Grail, you know, it is it is a working document that's a tool made for us to help us you know, function.
And remember all of us because like as we experience something, we're like, oh, wait a minute. We don't want to do that again. We're going to do it this way.
Right.
And then we all talk about it. Yeah.
Or hey, we did that. That didn't really work. I think we can tweak it a little bit and let's try it this way. Right.
Right.
And that's how we work together in building our assemblies.
Yes.
You know,
so we have to be pliable. We have to be open. And so I think we might need to go back now, right? And listen to what he's saying. Okay.
I think that's great.
All right. Hold on. Here we go.
That is not how we have a discussion. That's not how executives conversate either. Making sense so far?
Yeah. So, of course, then what this leads to feeling like is that there are job titles and roles.
It has to be.
So then are there set job titles and roles for a man and a woman and a house?
Yes, there must be.
Okay, tell me what my roles, and I would love to know.
Let me ask you this before we get into that. Okay. Have you ever co-founded a company with anybody?
Not really.
Okay. More of a solo entrepreneur kind of experience. Okay. Says a lot about relationships, but I can also understand. You're going to have to get a co-founder mentality to work with somebody effectively.
Okay.
Now, it's important as we talk about roles that we understand two things. One, roles are not based on value. The CEO is not a better or more important person than the COO.
Okay.
Right? The company's going to die without the COO just as much as without the CEO. We need both roles.
Okay.
And it's not the CEO is better. The COO is just as important, right? Number two, we are co-founders first before we fit into those roles. Okay. We are equal co-founders with equal human dignity.
Got it.
From there, we choose roles based on specialization, not value. Tracking so far?
Yeah.
Could you pause there?
Yeah. No, that's important right there.
That is so key because, you know, we have all of these roles in our assembly, right? We have committee chairs, we have the elected offices, you know, the marshal at arms, the assembly chairman, you know, recording secretaries, you know, all these different roles. We all know them, right? But the recording secretary is not going to do the job of the marshal at arms. Just like the marshal at arms is not going to do the job of the recording secretary. Now, one is not better than the other. One doesn't hold a higher, you know, authoritative position than the other. They just are different. and they can only work together when each respective position is holding up to their end of the deal. So if you are a marshal at arms and you aren't, performing your duties,
Right.
then you're really pulling your assembly down, because
Yeah.
you're not holding up to the standard of the responsibilities that you were handed and entrusted with.
That you volunteered for.
Yeah, and elected. I mean, on our assembly, we did, we haven't had formal elections yet. That's in our, in our future. That's one of our goals for this year.
Mhm.
But we've done an informal roll call vote, and that was what we did for an election, right?
Mhm.
But yes, when you are elected into a position, volunteering in this role, you are the responsible party, and it is your job to follow through with all of the tasks, and it's your job. I mean,
Okay, so responsibility. Can we just talk about responsibility versus rights? Here's another piece. There's all these folks screaming about rights. I have the right for this and the right for that, but not civil rights, but rights. And I'm like, no, we don't have rights. We have responsibilities. The difference between us and them is we are self-governing. So if you're self-governing, nobody is giving you rights. You are the responsible.
You are responsible.
And you're the priority creditor. So don't talk to us about your rights and don't demand rights from us. We are all responsible. We're all self-responsible. We're all self-governing. And so when you're screaming and demanding that, and anybody who's teaching you to demand your rights, they're actually leading you into the water, into the air, somewhere else, not onto our assemblies where you have a responsibility. And where your responsibility is how you present yourself, how you carry it, how are you received, why are you being pushed out, what is going on that you're doing that is causing someone to say, nope, try again, nope, try again, nope, try again.
Yeah, but the good thing is that they keep getting the opportunity to try again.
Right. Because we're not trying to actually hang people, even though there are people on the assembly that think that they can hang you.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I think that this whole concept of being responsible, I think, is really it's a lot harder than I think we are giving it attention that it's hard. Because if you're coming into a position, I don't know, say as a coordinator, right? It's your job as the responsible party to figure out what should I be doing, right? What do I need to be doing? Who do I need to talk to? Who can I contact?
How do we communicate this to all?
Yes, and taking the responsibility and showing up as the responsible party, right? And the other thing that I think, and this was a hard one for me to even to do in the beginning, when I first got started, was assembly meetings. But hey, if I couldn't make it, at the time I was just working in the outreach committee. And hey, if I couldn't make the assembly meeting, I just didn't show up, and I didn't tell anybody about it. I just didn't show up, and after a while, I thought to myself, well, if I'm supposed to be part of this government and I don't show up, I'm like the missing teammate. It's a team effort. And if I'm not, communicating to my fellow assembly members, my fellow teammates that, hey, I can't make this one, guys, you're going to have to do it without me. I'm not acting as the responsible party.
So for those people that like to just show up and then have a whole lot to say about things that they don't know anything about because they've never been there. Right. Or that they volunteered and they took a position and then they never showed up, but then all of a sudden they have so much to say. Well, you're irresponsible. You never took any responsibility and now you want to demand rights. Well, I think you're confused because maybe you should be in a district assembly at that moment. Or you should just go study, learn the difference between rights and responsibilities.
Right.
Because we don't have rights and we don't want rights because we're responsible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like to say it like I have God-given rights, right?
Well,
like my
you have an assignment to be responsible, given the dominion over the earth.
yes,
And it is your job to protect your earth that was a gift to you from your creator. And so therefore, you have a very big responsibility to protect all precious life, in
Right.
which case you're not interested in arguing or fighting or harming anyone. And
right.
but if
Or
you don't
causing
know that,
distress.
but if
You
you're
know,
causing harm in the way of any attack, in the way of any whatever, with people who are demanding rights, who never show up to take responsibility, and then they don't get it that they're not taking responsibility, you know, this is a hard thing to demonstrate when we have never seen it in
right.
practice before.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to laugh recently. I saw a post on Facebook. I don't go on Facebook often. I did create a Facebook page for our assembly, you know, because I know that Facebook is a great way to get the word out and to market. But I feel like Facebook is like one of those things that kind of pull you into drama, and I don't like drama,
Right.
and so I don't go on there, you know, hardly ever. But when I do go on there, sometimes, you know, I see other people's posts,
Mhm.
and I read it, and I'm like, this one post was like, Donald Trump is like the daddy that Americans never had. And I'm like, I had to laugh so hard. And I'm like, I don't think I
No.
want him for a daddy. I can tell you that much. You know,
No, and also, why
why
do you need this whole world? Why do we have a world full of people looking for a daddy in him or anybody? This is the other question, you know?
Well, because some people I think had absentee parents.
I mean,
right?
I
Like-
did too. I had a deadbeat dad, but all I'm saying is I'm not seeking that. I had to grow up and I had to parent myself, and I had to realize, okay, this is not something that I need to be worrying about. Like, I don't need that. And I just have to be able to be responsible as myself. And and so taking that responsibility is something all of us should be working on. How do we do that? You know, reparenting ourselves is an exercise everyone should practice. And I mean, it does take years to do. I mean, we didn't.
Well, and I think what also happens, Neethi, is that when people hear the word responsible, I think that frightens them. It's like, oh God, another thing that, you know, I'm responsible for, because, you know, we have, I think, the things in our life that keep us so busy that the corporatocracy has us doing, right? I mean, I just think of, you know,
if you're allowing it, right? Like, this is, again, it goes back to what do you allow and how much do you allow? Like you've said many times before, my family has this kind of this is a priority. We enjoy this, that. And so we allow that to be part of our life because it's something that we enjoy. It brings us joy, whatever it is. And so everyone is choosing, you know, whether they like it or not, they're choosing, but they're not really like, I'll give you an example of what I mean. My father-in-law, okay, he chooses to do whatever the medical mafia says. And it is to his detriment. And we have tried to exemplify and show him that there is a holistic, more natural route that isn't causing the same kind of harm. And so, but he don't want that. He wants to keep choosing it, right? So then my mom and other people are like, oh my God, I feel so bad that he's suffering. And I'm like, why? He's getting everything he wants. They're just like, you are so mean. And I'm like, but he's choosing it. He wants it. It doesn't work. He doesn't think so. He thinks it's great. You know?
Well, it's that cognizant dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, it's that cognitive dissonance, yeah, where they
Right.
just,
So everybody is choosing it, you know,
right.
and so I'm not saying that to be mean. I love him, you know. I'm
Of
just
course,
saying, I'm
yeah,
just saying this is what he wants. We're giving him everything he wants, how he wants it, and the fact that you have to take responsibility by acknowledging that you
right,
are making that choice.
right,
Nothing's
right.
happening to you.
Well,
Everything's happening for you, but
yeah,
you're
well, and
making the choice.
what people fail to recognize is that in that incidence
Mhm,
you're describing, that example,
mhm.
is that, uh, you know, what people have been trained to do is they are trained to listen to the experts, right? So they listen to them and they don't like the outcome. So then they think that the only power they have is to complain.
And
But they
blame.
could,
And they
yes,
wanna find somebody to blame, but the only person to blame is
yes.
right
But
here.
they continue in this loop,
Mhm,
right? Well, I'm going to see the doctor. I don't get what I like. I didn't get the outcome I was looking for. I'm
mhm.
going to complain. I'm going to blame, but then I'm just going to go back again. And it's this vicious circle, right? Because it all goes back to the cognitive dissonance. And
Mhm.
and
I
what,
mean, I as a coach, as a health coach, I just watch people do this all day long. And it breaks my heart, and also I can't do anything about it, but guess what? I have to honor their free will choice. And the
right,
same thing is happening on our assembly. Everybody has a free will choice, and we must honor it. And even if it's to the detriment of everyone and everything, and it's just very difficult to observe that and just watch it and know that it has to play out when it's happening on your assembly, which is reasons why we're sharing this video. Should we go back to the video?
yeah, go for it.
All right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We have to say this because women aren't supposed to take a lesser, weaker, more pathetic role. That's not the purpose.
Right. Well, this feels so like ancient, classic, sort of like Christian values of like submit to the man. And it's like, I don't think anyone wants to feel like they're in a position where they're just like second in command. Right?
Disregarded. You won't care about me. You will
Mhm.
mistreat me. I have to serve you, and
Mhm.
you will betray me in the end. That's
Mhm.
what most women are thinking.
Mhm.
And that's fair because for the last 4 generations, men have fallen short. Sometimes because they died, sometimes because of trauma, sometimes because they weren't trained properly, and sometimes because they were just assholes.
This is 100% everyone and how they feel about de facto. Okay. So you could just always replace the men word with de facto versus de jure, y'all. So, we're supposed to submit, supposed to comply, we're supposed to get with the program, blah, 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 blah. And
Yes,
then when you come into the assembly and you got to learn how to work with other people, and you don't never know how to work with anybody because you've never been responsible. You've never been in a position where you had to be the responsible one. And now you want to come in with your rights, and you don't want to be responsible still, but you want to have a voice, but you don't want to be responsible with it. But you want to make the choices, but you don't want to be responsible with that. And
right,
you want to make all the decisions, but you don't want to be responsible for that either. You want to be the boss, but you don't want to be responsible for the outcome. And you don't want to bend the knee, but you also won't be responsible for other people. And so, where are we at here, friends? You see how it goes? You got to be responsible,
yeah,
not demand rights, which requires you to take a different view. And actually, now you're going to have to slow down, sit down, reparent, and get to the moment where, oh, how do I take responsibility for what I'm going to say or do next? And it is going to be received with pushback, with comments, with, pros and cons from every side. And am I going to be able to handle it, or am I going to fall apart? 99% of the people on the assembly are going to fall apart, quit, leave, demand that they shouldn't be criticized, judged, And believe me, you are going to be a target. You're going to be on the X. And why? Because you have to take responsibility.
Yeah. And I would almost suggest, you know, my family, we like sports. We're not fanatics, but we like sports. My oldest son, he's a coach for a high school team, and and he really loves the statistics of everything. And but I like comparing things to like teams and different things of that nature. And in sports, when you're training, let's just say in baseball, right? And a pitcher is pitching a ball. Uh, you have a trainer that videotapes them and can watch their body mechanics so that the pitcher can come back and look and see his body mechanics and what he needs to do to improve to be a better pitcher, right? It's almost like likewise in your assembly, watch the playbacks of how things all unfolded in your meetings, and then say to yourself, what could I have done better to have shown up differently to possibly get a better outcome here?
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic advice. Everyone should watch the replay of every meeting all the time. I always love to do that because when you're in the meeting, it feels one way. When you watch the replay, you're like,
Right.
oh, that's what they were saying.
And
And
for
then
us,
you start really appreciating all the people on your assembly so much more in the replay because you're just like, oh, I get what so and so is doing. Oh my gosh, look at what such and such said.
yeah, and maybe
Oh,
you understand it a little bit better too, because sometimes in the moment, especially if there's a debate going on and there's back and forth, or if there's chaos, sometimes you're in that moment and you're like, what the hell's going on here right now? Like, what is even happening?
Or
So
even if it's not chaos, even if it's just fine and good and whatever. But like when you're in the meeting, it's after work or whatever, in most cases, you have stuff going on. You're watching the babies, you're watching the kids, you're managing something else. You might be getting a phone call, like things are going on.
yeah.
And you have a little bit of a distraction or something, and you're tired to top it all off. But when you listen to it the next day, the way that you receive it the next day, you're more relaxed. You're doing something else. You can literally just listen. And, you're going, oh, I didn't even know we did that talk, or, oh, I missed that thing, or whatever it is. And so the clarity that comes with that makes you so much better to be able to show up the next week or the next day or the next time and really have a better grasp of what's going on. But like when you're that guy that doesn't come 90% of the time, or 80 or 70 even, because of work or whatever the reason is, like no judgment, right? But if you just aren't really watching and paying attention, and then or you try to catch up, all at one time, well, it's a completely different thing than to join responsibly, be in the moment, review, and be better. And but you know what, Tammy, we should do this every day. I do it every day. Before I go to bed, I think about how I want to be better the next day. And I'll think about what happened that day and how I can be a better somebody the next day. And in the morning, I think about what I have to do that day and how I'm going to arrive and show up better than I did yesterday. And this is how we slowly, incrementally tune ourselves to a higher frequency and make ourselves a little bit better every day and not have to be I don't know, like the perfect thing, whatever, because we're constantly creating and upgrading and improving ourselves all the time.
It reminds me of, and I don't remember if it was a Monday night webinar or one of her, Anna's coordinator training calls, but I remember her describing, and maybe it was one of her articles. I don't remember, but she was describing her dad, every morning, or it was at the dinner table. I can't remember. But the one thing that I remember was that he always said to her as a little girl, what can I do to better serve you today?
Mm,
Right.
right.
And that's the attitude we have to have coming into our assemblies. Like, what are we going to do to better serve our assemblies? I feel like there can be, and maybe people don't think that this is, this could be harsh in saying this, but we've all been kind of living in a selfish state. Right.
Right.
Where we're only worrying about ourselves, and I think that this is one of the reasons why the founders put God and then country, right?
And
Because they
then
realized,
family.
yes,
And,
because
and
they
the
realized
corporations tried to put you and your family first before there's no God and there's no country.
yeah. Well, and the reason is because if the country went to shit, so
Right.
wouldn't your family. Like your family would, go to shit. So I mean, and that's kind of what we're seeing today.
Right.
And so it really goes back to this mindset of loving your neighbors, being of service to others, and getting back to that mentality again. And I that so resonated with me when Anna was talking about her father. And I just thought, and this guy, by the way, I don't know if we'll have enough time to finish the rest of the clip, but he does get into the discussion that you have, and he uses a spouse. But I mean, we can simply take that model and apply it to our assemblies, saying, hey, coordinator, what can the assembly do to help better serve you and allow you to do your job better? Hey, recording secretary, what can the assembly do to better help you serve in your position as a recording secretary?
Mm-hmm. And also, but before you do that, you need to have a full grasp of how to be responsible yourself and show up. You can't be on day one trying to do that. We have so many people who decide, oh, they all of a sudden are going to do something. They haven't been anywhere for the last year. Okay. And so you have to really be immersed in a regular participant for over a year to really have any concept. I mean, if you're a present for over a year and also reading and studying in the background, I'm talking about like all the meetings,
Well, I can tell you this much.
Mm-hmm.
We had members in our assembly that were assembly members for well over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we needed to have coordinators step up, they felt very ill-equipped. Like, oh, I don't think I have enough knowledge. I don't think I know enough to step into that role.
Right.
And we took the position where we were like, it's kind of like learn on the job. You're going to learn as you go.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're going to get better at what you're doing as you go along. And that's exactly what has transpired.
Right.
But what the main thing that was the requirement is what the theme, I think, of what this podcast is being responsible.
Right.
Are you responsible enough to take on that position, give the commitment for it, and then follow through with all of the necessary responsibilities that role requires? That's really all we can ask for, because right now we are building an assembly and it's trial and error. Does this work? Oh, no, that didn't work like that. Okay, let's try it this way. And so we are building our assemblies on this trial by error, and what's working, what's not. And that's how we're learning and growing and building it.
Absolutely. And the more people that have had more experience in that trial process along the way, you really should work with and lean with those people.
Yes.
And focus and pay attention.
Right.
But you got to watch the pattern recognition. Who's taking responsibility? Who's trying to guide you back into other jurisdictions? Who is it that just isn't getting it? Because there are a lot of people I know that have been on the assembly well over 3 years and very corporate minded and are unable to even get out of that. And then there's a lot of them that are way past that, like even before they join. So you have to do this on a case by case basis. It can't be something that is just blanketed. And everybody is arriving with a different, in a different moment of their life. So this is the beauty of living people versus the dead corporations. And it's very different than earning a certificate or earning a degree. It is not something that somebody, it's not been something that you could have been like handed. I mean, I think I've heard people say, oh, there's Federation approved educators. I don't think so, because I don't know who that could be, or how can that even be a thing? I don't even know.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I say, Neethi. If there are Federation approved educators, where the heck have they been?
Also, where was the education where's the program that they went through to get that or earn that, whatever title?
Right.
Oh, wait, we don't do titles, do we, Tammy?
Right. And that all goes back to that hierarchical structure. Right. And we're not here to put some label on somebody and call them some kind of an expert and they're the go-to, right?
Right.
We're all responsible to get the information. And the other thing that, if you don't mind me, ending on is that we all working together should be sharing our information. I know that on, the International Outreach Think Tank, we have a space for the information to be shared, and everybody that is invited on, or is added to our invite list. And we open it up to anybody who's serving on a state assembly to come join us and be added to the invite list. You have access to that drive to get the information that's being shared. Now, what I'm finding is that there are other people that are creating documents and creating processes, and that's all great and wonderful. But why are you picking and choosing who you're sharing that information with? That's being biased. And to me, that's wrong. That's wrong on so many levels.
Yeah.
I understand that, they may not want, they want people to take that information and be responsible with it. Well, we're all called to be responsible, right? And so, why are you policing the information that is supposed to be shared openly? If we're all called to do this work and we're all called to get our assemblies fully functional, why aren't you willingly sharing that information? I don't understand that.
Well, look, we only got through halfway. You see that?
Yeah. Well, I think there was
what I think is
you could share this maybe, or
we can share it, but I don't know. I was just thinking that this conversation we could even continue next week post Valentine's Day, and because I really believe that it's been a great conversation. I hope all the viewers enjoyed it as well, and I think that if we do a second part of it next week, if you're in agreement, because a lot of these other parts that you're talking about are so important as well.
Yeah, he gets into how we all in different roles, right? And he's referring mostly to men and women, but that's all we have in our assemblies is men and women anyway, right?
Or on Earth.
Yes, yeah, on Earth, right? I mean, but we've got other animals, but whatever. He's discussing.
We're the ones that have been given dominion on Earth to care for all precious lives, including all the animals, including all the plants, including the land and the soil. So,
and the water.
Sorry, it is us who have that responsibility.
Well, and the beautiful thing that he gets into is how we affect each other hormonally. And that affects our health,
our frequency. And
so, if we want to be healthy, it's in all of our best interests to work harmoniously together in our respective positions
as men,
responsibly, respectfully, and lovingly, as how can I be of service to you?
Right. I think this must continue. And
I love this conversation.
Unless you have no objection, I really would I think we should continue it next week.
Yeah, just keep a note on where we left off, and then we could just pick it right back up.
Absolutely. I think we'll do that. And hey, friends, we appreciate you guys so much. I just want to promote the Thursday podcast this week. It's changing to 4 p.m. I'm doing an interview with this man, and I'm calling all men and women who want to learn about how to operate as tradesmen, because America was built on skilled trades. And I think a lot of folks, when we talk about tradesmen, only think about, maybe they only think about the construction side, like, the electricians, the plumbers, things of that nature. But all of the trades,
there's so many.
There's so many of
So
them
many.
that included textiles, that included fabric producing, that included spinning, wool and creating candles and making soap and
Yes.
baking and everything. And
Yes.
so it is all the things that we need to get back to as this corporatocracy collapses. And so
Yeah.
I encourage, like when Anna is talking about nationalizing all the businesses, nationalizing all the corporations, this is going to be the beginning of that conversation of how do we do that? How do we do that? So I encourage anyone out there and everyone, I'm definitely calling all men. I'm also calling all women who want to come and learn how to operate unincorporated in their skills.
I love it. Oh, I love it, Neeti, because that's a huge topic that we get a lot of questions about when people are coming into our assemblies. If they own their own businesses, they want to know how to operate, on the land and soil. And so I think that would be a phenomenal discussion. And I know I'll look forward to watching it.
Thank you so much. And I invite everyone. I hope that you guys have a fantastic next couple of days. I'll see you Thursday at 4 p.m. with that interview. And we'll be back here next week on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, continuing this fantastic conversation. Thank you, Tammy, for your time today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Neeti, for having me again. And I look forward to next week, continuing the conversation.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.